Hello, welcome to Glazing with Amaco, and this is Kara, but I think we might be I'm having some camera issues where my selfie camera is frozen, so I'm going to see if I can just do this with overhead. And I do have my close-up camera, so not sure what's going on with my selfie camera. So today, what I have to share with you guys are the new Phase Glazes. These are two of the new Phase Glazes. These are the PG glazes as opposed to the PC, Potter's Choice glazes. So we have PG54, Lunar Pink, PG55, Floating Lavender. We also have PG42, Teal Drift, and PG24, Night Rain. Now, you may have heard a little bit about the PG glazes. You may have seen ads for them. You might have seen them on the shelf at your favorite store. Sorry about that frozen selfie camera. I keep hoping it's going to unfreeze, and so far it has not. But there I am looking at my computer. So the PG glazes are actually very different from a lot of our other glazes. They are very opaque, and they also have a visual texture. I'm going to go to my close-up. They have a visual texture that you may be able to see here in this close-up cam. You can see the kind of speckling that they get. This is phase separation. And what phase separation refers to is the glaze separating and creating two different glaze effects. So this is Midnight Rain, PG24. And you can see how where it's thick, it has created that speckle, and it does show a little bit of the texture, but you can tell it is a very opaque glaze, and it does cover quite well. So, going back to my overhead. So I'm going to be glazing a little bit and also showing you all some of the beautiful things that the Phase Glazes do, because they are fantastic for a variety of things. So I wanted to show you how thick they are, and this is normal. I'm going to be glazing with Lunar Pink today. Oh, it's trying to unfreeze, but, well, okay. So I have Lunar Pink. I also wanted to show you all something that was brought up by a customer a few weeks ago. Lunar Pink and Floating Lavender in the jar look exactly the same. They do not fire the same. Let me show you. This is Floating Lavender. This is Lunar Pink, and these are both on our white chocolate clay, which I'll talk about more in future streams. But you can see they fire very different. So this is a little on the thick side. Don't worry. And to get the speckling, I would say you need at least 2 coats, generous Kara style coats. Hi, Susan. Not sure if we have any other comments at the moment. Let's see. Caroline Nitzel says, are they more stable or do they run? They are pretty stiff, but if you apply enough glaze or you fire too hot, they will run. I find that because they are so opaque, you don't necessarily need as much to get opaque color, but to get that phase separation, you're going to want at least 2 generous coats, if not 3. If you're a light glazer, you'll definitely want to put 3 coats on. So I'm going to set that aside and let that dry while I show you some more things. Hi Kathy, it's good to be back, even if we've got a frozen frame. Why it can't freeze when I'm, looking straight at the camera, I don't know. So, as I said, the PG glazes create phase separation, so they'll make a mottled, speckled surface as the 2 glass forms separate. But I wanted to show you some of the layering things with the phase glazes. This is this the, yes, this is Lunar Pink over Satin Matte Black. And let me show you the close-up. Sorry that I didn't get that in a little closer, but you can see just fantastic variation. I think this was just like 2 coats applied over the top. Yes, 2 coats of Lunar Pink over 2 coats of Satin Matte Black. Really impressive. Very dramatic. Another example of how dramatic the phase glazes are, even with smaller coats, lighter coats. This is 3 coats of Obsidian, and then instead of doing a lot of coats, this is 1 swipe of Teal Drift and 2 swipes, so like 2 coats of Teal Drift, 1 coat of Teal Drift, and you can see how really strong the color shows up. Those of you who've used the Obsidian as a base for things like the Northern Lights combos, you know that Obsidian can kind of eat up a lot of colors if you don't get them on thick enough. In this case, it does not need to be on super thick. And then here it is with the Lunar Pink over Obsidian. Again, it's 2 swipes, 1 swipe, and that's just 1 brush of the Lunar Pink. Jason Wadsworth says, I've had more dramatic effects come from just 2 coats of Teal Drift. Haven't tried 1 yet. You can get really, really dramatic effects with 2, definitely. So those are some examples. I also wanted to show you some fun things with layering. This is this? Yes, this is lavender, floating lavender. Sorry, the color's kind of washed out. It's a little bit darker. Let me go to the overhead. This is the floating lavender over honey flux. So those of you who love honey flux, this is a really beautiful combo. And let me show you another. This, I made just a little tool holder, and it is all completely glazed with honey flux, and then I just applied a line of Teal Drift around the rim, and you can see how the honey flux kind of pulled it down, kind of this nice, not too strong, but just a really pretty color across the top. I had so much fun with that. So for those of you who love your honey flux, you are going to love using the PG glazes with honey flux. So to answer some of the questions that had come up on our Facebook, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, we'll make this an event, and I will answer questions that are put on the Facebook group, and that is the Amaco Cone 5-6 Glaze Forum Facebook group. Heidi Schink asks, how many coats of each on those? The Honey Flux combo was 2 and 2. 2 coats of Honey Flux, 2 coats of floating lavender. Made this really soft, kind of dreamy lavender. And although the color's kind of washed out because we have really bright lights, you can see it does give some really beautiful visual texture on the Honey Flux. I also, some of you have seen the, oh, and they were fired to cone 6, Jason. So some of you have seen where I have done peacock bowls using ancient copper and Honey Flux, and in this case I used the PG glazes, which work great for peacock bowls. This is the the Night Rain. I keep wanting to call it Midnight Run, but that's our PCF. Night Rain, Floating Lavender, and Lunar Pink dots in a row. And I've also done a peacock bowl with the Teal Drift, and it is so dramatic, I cannot tell you. So the PGs work so well for the peacock effect. So this was dots of the PG glazes, swoops of Honey Flux, and then coat the entire thing with ancient copper. So dramatic, really, really beautiful. So I also wanted to show you another ancient copper piece, and this is Teal Drift, and then ancient copper on our dark chocolate clay. So this is a black clay body, very vitreous. It does not contain manganese, by the way, but it does, the ancient copper doesn't create the crystals. This is fired to cone 6. It doesn't create the crystals, but look at how dramatic the color of the Teal Drift is, even on a black clay. It did break slightly on the rim because it is a very sharp rim, but look at how dramatic that color is. Jason, generally we fire anything layered to cone 6. Sorry, I'm losing stuff off of the table. And single glazes are generally cone 5. So this was cone 6, the peacock bowl was cone 6, the layered combos were cone 6. The single glaze pieces like this are cone 5. So I have a few others. This is, let me see what I can show you all. So this is Night Rain over textured turquoise. Very beautiful. Look at that. And then I have Night Rain over Blue Midnight. And that's 2 and 2 fired to cone 6. This is Night Rain over Obsidian. Look at that. So these are a lot of fun. They do run a little bit, but this was a heavy application and fired to cone 6. Yep, Obsidian. So some other questions. Maria Elena Hernandez Gonzalez asked, how much running over Celadon or PCs? And like I said, it depends on how much glaze you put on and exactly how hot you fire. They will run when they are layered. So if you are layering over PC glazes that are very, very runny, yes, they will run. If you use a lot, if you're using 3 coats of PG over a Celadon, over 3 coats of a Celadon, yes, they will move. So keep that in mind. By themselves, they don't move that much. 3 coats, they might move a little bit. You can always taper off your coats towards the bottom if you're worried. You know, do 2 coats at the bottom instead of 3. So here's my second coat. And in that same vein, Dave Phillips asked, are we only supposed to use 1 PG at a time? When he tried this, layering 1 PG over another, the top glaze ran over the second color. And yes, they are opaque, so they will cover up. If you layer one over the other, it will cover it up. And especially if you're using a lot of coats, you're going to have a lot of movement. Natalie Duff says, love the new phase glazes. If you layer teal drift, then floating lavender, then teal drift, then floating lavender again, it's glorious. I will have to try that, Natalie, because that sounds really, really fun. I did want to show another close-up. Oh, did I miss a... Let's see, Annie asked, is Lunar Pink still pink at cone 6? And yes, it is, but I don't have that tile with me. But I did want to show you all. Let's see, can you see the speckling? This is just a flat tile. It was fired flat, and that's the floating lavender. And you can see the fine speckling that shows up even on a completely flat surface. And I did have another question that I do not remember who asked it, but it was on the Facebook group about showing texture with the PG glazes. And because they are thick, they will cover up a lot of texture. You can see how the kind of finer texture, it sort of disappears. The really, really sharp ridges on this, you can see them, but if you have a textured piece, a really carved piece, it's probably going to cover up any fine texture that you use. So keep that in mind. So, do you guys have any other questions for me about the new PG glazes? Oh, I do have something else to show you. I am always bringing lots of stuff because I know you guys like to see lots of things. So, I have here, these are mixtures. This is 50-50 Lunar Pink and Floating Lavender. This is 50-50 Night Rain and Lunar Pink. This one I thought was really interesting. This is Lunar Pink and Teal Drift mixed together. Makes kind of a more subtle teal instead of the bright teal. And then this is Night Rain and Teal Drift mixed. And this is Teal Drift and Floating Lavender mixed. I also used them to make some little pendants, you can see. And because I wanted to see how they would work if you did refiring with decals, low temperature decals, I made these little pendants on our dark chocolate clay. So you can see They show up really nicely on the dark chocolate. And then I used commercial gold overglazed decals and fired these to, I think, 015. And they did not change color. They looked fantastic. You still see all of the modeling. Here's the teal drift. And here's the lunar pink. Look at that. Nice. Yes, the PGs are mixable within the line. You can mix them with other PGs. So you can get some custom colors, but they will be kind of more subtle than the colors that we have. I like to think of these as being very 80s colors. That's why I called them retro, is they look very 1985 to me. So, let's see. Do we have any other questions about the PGs while I show you more things? This bowl is the milk chocolate and was thrown by George Debicki, who is a retired artist and glaze chemist who worked here at Amaco for many, many years. And he glazed this with the Lunar Pink and left most of this bare, and these are HF glazes, just dabbed on there and fired to cone 5. If any of you were curious about how this was done. And again, you can see how it did break. I think this was a lighter coat of glaze, maybe 2 coats at most. So it did show the texture really beautifully. So for this cup, I'm actually going to wait because it's still wet. Jason asks, will these layered samples be on the website soon? And I hope so. I don't know exactly when we'll have the layered samples loaded up on our website, but hopefully we will be doing that before the end of the year. We're still doing all of our layer testing. So these were kind of done to see if it was interesting, and it was. So we will probably do more of it. And I can't think of other things at the moment. I think I have shown you all of the goodies that I brought to share today. So, still sorry about being frozen, but I will figure that out. We will be back in 2 weeks and have something new to discuss with you. We have a lot of new products that have come out this year, and I also have new techniques to share with you all for getting the best glaze results. So, happy glazing, have a great week, and if you have any questions, you can drop me a comment and you can also contact me through Facebook at Amaco Brent. So, thanks again. I'll see you all in 2 weeks.